Girls are kind of lucky, don't they, Mom?
Why do you say that?
Well, they don't have to be smart. They don't have to get jobs or anything. All they gotta do is get married.
You might think you know Leave It to Beaver, that classic slice of 1950s suburbia with its picture-perfect lawns, polite kids, and wise parents who always seem to have the right answer. But behind that black-and-white image of small-town innocence hides a treasure trove of weird, surprising, and downright fascinating facts that reveal how groundbreaking and sometimes chaotic this wholesome show really was. So, let's step back into Mayfield and count down 20 secrets that make Leave It to Beaver one of the most extraordinary shows in television history. Number 20. The first toilet ever seen on American TV. Believe it or not, Leave It to Beaver quietly made television history by showing something almost scandalous for its time: a toilet tank. In the 1950s, American TV networks were obsessed with maintaining decency. You couldn't show a married couple sharing a bed, and even a simple bathroom scene could be considered indecent. But in the 1957 episode Captain Jack, young Beaver hides a pet alligator in the toilet tank, and the writers had no choice but to show part of it on screen. CBS objected, but the producers argued it was vital to the story. They eventually compromised by showing only the tank, not the bowl. It sounds ridiculous now, but at the time, that little glimpse of porcelain caused quite a stir. Leave It to Beaver accidentally became the first show to feature a toilet on TV, one tiny symbol of how the show quietly pushed social boundaries under its wholesome surface. Number 19. Beaver's Real Life. Accident almost changed everything. Jerry Mathers, the actor who played the lovable Beaver Cleaver, was nearly written out of history before the show even took off. Before filming began, Mathers was struck by a car while crossing the street. Thankfully, he recovered, but producers almost recast the role, fearing he wouldn't be ready in time. Imagine that! Leave It to Beaver without the beaver! The accident also added a protective atmosphere around the young actor, who was only 8 years old when the show started. The crew affectionately looked out for him like real family, which only deepened the authenticity of the on-screen relationships. Number 18. The Cleaver's home wasn't always the same. If you've ever thought the Cleaver home looked a little different from season to season, you're absolutely right. The series was filmed on different studio lots throughout its run, including Republic Studios and Universal. Each time the set moved, the layout of the Cleaver home subtly changed. A staircase here, a window there. Fans who pay close attention can spot the differences. In the final seasons, the family's home facade was reused in other Universal productions, including The Munsters and Desperate Housewives. So yes, technically, June Cleaver and Herman Munster once lived on the same street, just in different decades. Number 17. Barbara Billingsley's pearls had a secret purpose. June Cleaver's trademark pearls weren't just a fashion statement. They were a clever workaround. Barbara Billingsley began wearing them in the first season to hide a small hollow at the base of her neck that caused shadows under harsh studio lights. Over time, the pearls became iconic, a subtle symbol of maternal grace and poise. Interestingly, she wore them even when cleaning or cooking, reinforcing that picture-perfect 1950s ideal, even if it started as a lighting fix. Behind the scenes, Billingsley was known for her humor and warmth, nothing like the overly prim housewife she played on TV. Number 16. The show's title confused everyone at first. When Leave It to Beaver first hit the air, audiences were puzzled by its title. Many thought Beaver referred to a place, maybe a town or a club. In truth, Beaver was the quirky nickname of young Theodore Cleaver, given to him by his brother Wally when he couldn't pronounce Theodore as a toddler. The title's oddity ended up being part of its charm. Once viewers realized it was about a little boy growing up in suburban America, the confusion gave way to affection. And the phrase "Leave It to Beaver" became shorthand for wholesome simplicity. Number 15. Jerry Mathers wore his own clothes on set. In the early days of filming, the production was working on a shoestring budget. To save money, young Jerry Mathers often wore his own clothes for the role. His mother even laundered and pressed them between episodes. It gave the show an unintentional realism. Beaver looked like a real kid because he literally dressed like one. As the show grew more successful, wardrobe budgets increased, but that early authenticity never faded. Number 14. Hugh Beaumont wasn't just Ward Cleaver. He was a real-life minister. Hugh Beaumont's calm, moral authority as Ward Cleaver wasn't entirely acting. In real life, Beaumont was an ordained Methodist minister. He brought genuine sincerity to every fatherly talk scene, often revising dialogue to make sure it sounded heartfelt rather than preachy. Unfortunately, tragedy struck his family during the show's run. His mother-in-law was killed in a car accident that also left his son injured. The emotional toll affected Beaumont deeply, and he often directed episodes later in the series, perhaps finding solace behind the camera. Number 13. Tony Dow was an Olympic-level athlete. Before Tony Dow became Wally Cleaver, he was a championship diver who competed in the Junior Olympics. That athleticism carried into his role. He had a natural confidence and grace that made Wally the perfect All-American teen. Interestingly, Dow had never planned to act. He accompanied a friend to an audition and ended up being cast instead. His unforced charm gave the Cleaver family its balance. The reliable older brother who could handle anything. Number 12. No one knew where the Cleavers actually lived. For all the familiarity of Mayfield, the leafy suburb where the Cleavers lived, the show never specified what state it was in. Fans have debated this for decades. The creators intentionally left it vague, using generic references to keep it relatable for everyone in post-war America. Mayfield could be anywhere: Ohio, Illinois, California. Wherever viewers imagined their own slice of the American dream. That vagueness made the show universal, representing an idealized version of mid-century life rather than a real place. Number 11. The cast had to be perfectly polite, even off-camera. Behind the scenes, there were strict behavioral expectations for the young actors. Producers insisted the boys behave as model citizens at all times, even outside of filming, to protect the show's squeaky clean image. Interviews had to be approved, language had to be proper, and pranks on set were limited to harmless fun. It was all part of maintaining the show's reputation as a mirror of American decency, though by today's standards, it sounds almost impossibly strict. Number 10. The theme song changed over time. The catchy tune that opens Leave It to Beaver is instantly recognizable. But what many don't realize is that it wasn't always the same. The first season used a different melody titled It's a Small World, composed specifically for the show. Later, the now iconic Leave It to Beaver theme, bright, bouncy, and unmistakably 50s, replaced it. That change subtly shifted the show's tone, making it feel more cheerful and polished, fitting its rise as a cultural staple. Number 9. The kids' dialogue was groundbreaking. Unlike other shows of its era, Leave It to Beaver made a deliberate effort to write children who actually sounded like children. The dialogue was peppered with slang, half-finished sentences, and genuine awkwardness, all true to how real kids talked. This authenticity was rare in 1950s television, where most child characters spoke like miniature adults. Writers Joe Connolly and Bob Mosher drew inspiration from their own children's conversations, which gave the show its timeless believability. Number 8. Eddie Haskell was based on a real person. Eddie Haskell, the smarmy best friend of Wally, became one of TV's most unforgettable characters, polite to adults, mischievous to peers. The inspiration came from a real-life acquaintance of the writer's sons, who had that exact two-faced charm. Actor Ken Osmond nailed the role so perfectly that Eddie Haskell became part of the American lexicon, shorthand for any insincere flatterer. Off-screen, Osmond was the opposite: quiet, respectful, and eventually a real-life LAPD officer after the series ended. Number 7. The show was filmed like a movie. While most sitcoms of the time were shot using a 3-camera setup in front of a studio audience, Leave It to Beaver broke the mold. It was filmed single-camera, like a feature film, giving it a cinematic look that stood apart from its peers. This approach allowed for more nuanced acting and tighter storytelling, but it also made production slower and more expensive. Still, that choice paid off, giving the show a lasting, timeless aesthetic that holds up even in high-definition remasters today. Number 6. Beaver's school scenes were, surprisingly, real. The school scenes often felt authentic because the producers hired real teachers and extras to create the right classroom energy. Jerry Mathers even had on-set tutors to fulfill California's child labor education requirements. Many of his real lessons were filmed as part of classroom scenes, blurring the line between acting and learning. It's no wonder those episodes feel so genuine. They actually captured a piece of the young actor's real education. Number 5. It quietly addressed social change. Although Leave It to Beaver appeared squeaky clean, it subtly reflected the changing social dynamics of 1950s America. Beneath the simplicity were themes of independence, respect, and personal responsibility, values that resonated with families adjusting to suburban life after World War II. It was a world without explicit politics or controversy, yet it mirrored America's desire for stability and moral clarity during an era of uncertainty. In that way, it wasn't just a sitcom, it was cultural therapy for a nation learning how to live in peacetime. Number 4. Jerry Mathers. Audition was totally honest. When young Jerry Mathers auditioned for the role of Beaver, producers asked him if he'd rather stay for the interview or go to his Cub Scout meeting. He said, "I'd rather go to my meeting." That charming honesty instantly won him the part. The creators knew they'd found their Beaver, a boy so authentic he didn't even try to impress. That single moment defined the tone of the entire series: genuine, unpretentious, and human. Number 3. The cast remained close for life. Unlike many shows where co-stars drift apart, the Leave It to Beaver cast remained a second family for decades. Tony Dow and Jerry Mathers often reunited for interviews and conventions, always speaking fondly of their on-screen parents. Barbara Billingsley even reprised her role in the 1980s revival series The New Leave It to Beaver, proving how deeply the show had bonded its cast and fans alike. When Dow and Billingsley passed away, Mathers described them as family, not colleagues. Number 2. The show ended before its time. Leave It to Beaver wrapped in 1963 after 6 seasons. Not because of poor ratings, but because the creators felt they'd told the story they wanted to tell. By then, the characters had grown up, and America was changing fast. The wholesome 1950s ideal was giving way to the social revolutions of the 1960s. Ending. It, when they did, preserved the show's integrity. It would forever remain that perfect snapshot of an Mayfield, innocent era before the world became more complicated. Number 1. The legacy that never faded, even today. Leave It to Beaver continues to air in reruns around the world, and its moral lessons still resonate. It wasn't about perfection. It was about learning, growing, and forgiving. Every episode ended not with punishment, but with understanding. That's why generations later, the Cleavers still feel like family. Behind every quirky anecdote, from the toilet tank to the pearl necklace, lies a show that captured the soul of mid-century America and taught viewers that decency, kindness, and curiosity never go out of style.